Planorbidae, the Ramshorn Snails, named for the horn of a ram, a curve that mathematicians call a logarithmic spiral, the same geometry found in nautilus shells, sunflower seed arrangements, and the arms of spiral galaxies. This particular spiral has been solving the problem of aquatic survival for approximately 300 million years, and it has arrived in considerable numbers in your planted aquarium. First, what is a ramshorn snail? The answer is, it depends. Ramshorn is a common name applied to the entire family Planorbidae, approximately 250 freshwater species worldwide. Most aquarium keepers are unknowingly keeping one of two species, which look almost identical but are geographically distinct and slightly different in shell detail. Planorbidae. The Seminole ramshorn, native to Florida, with a shell diameter of up to 1 inch. Very smooth. And every color morph you have seen in the aquarium hobby, red, blue, pink, spotted, comes from this species. It is the most widely traded ramshorn in the world. Most mollusks, clams, oysters, the nearite snails, they use hemocyanin to transport oxygen. Hemocyanin is copper-based. It gives the blood a pale blue-green color. It is effective, but it has lower oxygen affinity than the alternative. The ramshorn independently evolved the alternative. Hemoglobin. Iron-based, red, and evolved independently in Planorbidae from the hemoglobin found in vertebrates. In fish, in frogs, in you. This is textbook convergent evolution. Two completely different evolutionary lineages arriving at the same biochemical solution to the same problem. The problem is, how do you bind and transport oxygen efficiently in water that does not have much of it? Planorbidae are pulmonate gastropods. Pulmonate means lung-bearing. Despite living underwater, they breathe air. They have a lung, not gills. You will see them make periodic trips up to the water surface to replenish their air supply through a small opening visible just under the shell edge. This behavior is not stress. It is normal respiratory physiology at work. A ramshorn surfacing is doing the same thing a dolphin does, at considerably smaller scale and with considerably less fanfare. The combination of lung breathing and hemoglobin gives Planorbidae extraordinary hypoxia tolerance, the ability to survive water with very low dissolved oxygen. Most freshwater invertebrates begin to show stress at about 5 milligrams per liter. Ramshorns can persist in conditions below 2 milligrams per liter, supplementing their aquatic gas exchange with direct air breathing. They are, in dissolved oxygen terms, essentially indestructible. Here's the first bioindicator reading. Ramshorns at the surface. Not one snail on a routine air-breathing trip, multiple snails clustering near the waterline, surfacing more frequently than usual. This is a low dissolved oxygen signal. The snail's hemoglobin provides hypoxia tolerance, but even they have limits. When the dissolved oxygen drops approximately 4 grams per liter or less, the air breathing becomes more frequent and more urgent. Multiple snails at the surface simultaneously is your tank asking you to check the dissolved oxygen. The second reading. Population explosion. Ramshorn population size is directly regulated by food availability. In an aquarium with excess organic load, otherwise known as uneaten food, decaying plant matter, waste accumulating in the substrate, ramshorn populations expand rapidly because they are eating the excess. A sudden proliferation of ramshorn snails is not a snail problem. It is a food management signal. Address the excess and the population will stabilize. The snails are not the cause, they are the census. The third reading, shell erosion. Ramshorn shells are calcium carbonate, and they dissolve in acidic conditions. If you're seeing pitting, thinning, or holes in your ramshorn shells, your pH has dropped below approximately 7, or your GH is insufficient to support calcium deposition. In soft, acidic water, the snail cannot repair its shell as fast as the water is dissolving it. Shell erosion is a GH and pH alarm written on a living organism. 3 behaviors, 3 readings. Surface clustering means low DO. Population boom means excess organics. Shell erosion means acidic or soft water. The Ramshorn Snail is a bioindicator panel in a spiral shell operating continuously for free in your aquarium. Most people see it as a pest or a cleanup crew. It is also a diagnostic instrument. A critical safety note: Ramshorn snails are extraordinarily sensitive to copper. Research on Planorbidae species documents copper toxicity at concentrations as low as 0.1 milligrams per liter, a level found in some untreated tap water and far below the therapeutic dose of copper-based fish medications. If you treat a tank with copper for ick or velvet, remove the snails first, all of them. They will not survive, and they cannot warn you that they are dying until they already are. The radula! We had a diagram of this in episode 1. Here's the real thing in operation. Thousands of microscopic teeth on a chitinous ribbon, rasping continuously against the glass surface, scraping the biofilm, algae, and organic matter into the esophagus. The ramshorn does not browse, it systematically harvests. It works the glass in overlapping passes, leaving clean strips behind it, methodically and without interruption, for its entire waking life. On the substrate, the radula is doing the same work at a different scale, processing organic detritus, fragmenting decaying plant matter, and consuming uneaten food particles. The ramshorn is a detritivore in the classical sense. It converts complex organic matter into feces. That feces, bacteria will then process more efficiently than the original material. It is running the decomposition pipeline one step further down the food web. On plant surfaces, biofilm and algae are consumed methodically. The ramshorn will not eat healthy plant tissue. It is a very persistent hobby myth. It eats the organisms living on the plant surface. The distinction matters. A ramshorn on your Nubius is not damaging it. It is cleaning it, removing the same biofilm community that your shrimp are grazing from the other side. The ramshorn feces are themselves a resource. Fine organic pellets, partially processed and colonized by bacteria. Copepods graze on them. Ostracods process them further. The ramshorn is not just a cleaner in the tank, it is a processor in the decomposition food web, taking large organic inputs and breaking them into a form that the next trophic level can use. Think of it this way. The ramshorn does not occupy a niche in the aquarium, it occupies 3. Glass grazer, detritivore, decomposition processor, and, as we have established, passive water quality monitor. For a snail that has arrived as a hitchhiker on a piece of java fern, it is performing an extraordinary amount of useful work. Reproduction. Ramshorn snails are simultaneous hermaphrodites. Every individual carries both male and female reproductive organs and is capable of acting in either role, or both simultaneously during a mating event. There is no male ramshorn, there is no female ramshorn, there are only ramshorns. Each one a complete reproductive unit capable of producing offspring in any social configuration, including alone. The eggs are laid in clutches, a clear gelatinous disc adhered to the glass, plant leaves, hardscape, or the underside of a floating plant. Each clutch contains between 5 and 40 eggs, visible as small spheres inside the jelly matrix. Under the macro lens, they are remarkable. Each sphere contains a fully developing snail in miniature, curling its spiral shell inside the translucent egg capsule. Incubation takes approximately 2 to 5 weeks, depending on temperature. The eggs do not hatch as larvae. They hatch as miniature, fully formed snails. Each one already spiraled, already motile, already equipped with a functional radula. They are, in developmental terms, direct developers. No larval stage, no planktonic dispersal phase. They emerge as snails and immediately begin doing snail things, which is to say, eating. Juveniles are transparent at first. You can see the soft body tissue through the shell wall. In red morphs, the hemoglobin-rich tissue gives them a pink or orange tint before the shell thickens. They will reach sexual maturity in 4 to 6 weeks and will begin producing their own clutches immediately. A single ram's horn introduced to a well-fed aquarium will, within 8 weeks, become a population. Population control, the ram's horn's explosive reproductive rate is directly food limited. In a tank with excess organic material, populations boom. In a tank with managed organic load, populations stabilize at the level the food supply supports. The single most effective population control measure is not removing snails, it is removing the excess food that the snails are reproducing to exploit. Fix the food, the population fixes itself. The white ram's horn shell. This is one of the most commonly asked questions in the aquarium hobby and one of the most frequently misdiagnosed. The white appearance has 2 causes, which look similar from a distance and require opposite responses. We need to tell them apart. Cause 1, shell erosion. The ram's horn shell is calcium carbonate, covered by a thin protein film. When the pH drops below approximately 7 or the GH is insufficient, the water becomes capable of dissolving calcium carbonate. The shell loses its protein layer first, that glossy outer layer, and then the carbonate itself begins to pit and thin. Crucially, a new shell grows at the mantle's edge, the head end. Old shell cannot be repaired. The oldest shell is at the center of the ram's horn spiral, which is why erosion starts in the middle and spreads outward. New shell near the aperture is healthy and intact. Old shell at the center is dissolving. This asymmetry is the diagnostic sign. In CO2 injected plant tanks, this is especially common. High CO2 drives down the pH during the photoperiod. If your pH swings below 7 during the day and your GH is low, your ram's horn shells will show it. The snail is not sick in the clinical sense. It continues to function, eat, and reproduce, but the shell weakens progressively. To address this, raise the GH above 6, the pH above 7, add a calcium source. Crushed coral or aragonite in the filter, or a small piece of cuttlebone in the tank will buffer pH and supply calcium simultaneously. Cause number 2, mineral deposits. In hard water tanks, calcium carbonate can precipitate from the water column and coat the shell's surface. This is the opposite chemistry, not dissolution, but deposition. The shell surface feels rough and crystalline. The white material is on the outside, not within the shell material. This is more cosmetic than harmful. The snail is completely fine. You can gently wipe off the deposit with a soft cloth or a toothbrush if it so suits your needs. Never done this myself. The deposit will return if the water remains hard, which is expected and not a problem. So look at where the white is. If it starts at the center spiral and spreads outward with pitting and thinning, it is erosion. Check your pH, check your GH. If the pH is low, or if the GH is below 6, add some crushed coral or cuttlebone. If the white is on the outer surface and is rough and crystalline, and you can remove it by wiping, it is merely mineral deposits. Your water is hard, congratulations. The snail is fine. Leave it or wipe it off. Both phenomena are, in their own way, the ram's horn telling you something about your water chemistry. One is urgent, one is cosmetic. Know which is which. A healthy ram's horn shell has a glossy or semi-matte surface with no pitting and consistent color. New shell growth at the aperture edge will always be the most intact part of the shell. Check there first. If the newest growth is healthy and the erosion is confined to the oldest whorls, the chemistry has already been corrected and the snail is healing forward in time. It cannot fix the past, but it can build a better future. The Ramshorn snail is introduced into most aquariums by accident. It is noticed when its population is large. It is removed when its population becomes inconvenient. Almost nobody asks what it was doing there before it became inconvenient, which is a shame because what it is doing there is running the decomposition pipeline, monitoring your dissolved oxygen, reporting on water chemistry through its shell, and performing 3 distinct ecological roles simultaneously for free, using blood chemistry that evolution reinvented independently because it was simply that useful. It is not merely decorative, it is functional. It arrived in your tank because your tank had conditions that supported it. The question worth asking is not how to remove it. It is what it is telling you about those conditions. The ramshorn has been solving aquatic problems for 300 million years. It does not need your approval, it needs you to pay attention. 300 million years of spiral. Your tank is lucky to have it.